Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon to all our 12th Monarchs out there in Monarch Nation, coming off a 42-28 loss down at Vanderbilt in a game that I felt like our team they were ready to play. They were excited to play. We got off to a much better start in this game, with the score being 7-7 after the first quarter. And really the turning point in this game happened in the second quarter. We had a couple of defensive penalties that hurt us on third down. We had a drive stopped offensively on a 4th and 1 with a missed assignment up front, and even still we scored to cut it to 21-14 with 1:08 to go. And then the key drive in this game, we have a good kick, we pin them, they come out on first down, get a 2-yard run. They're clearly going to let the clock run out in the first half, and they pop a 27-yard run on us out to our 44-yard line, call a timeout with 19 seconds to go, and then hit back-to-back pass plays for a touchdown that put the score at 28-14 at the half, and that ended up being the difference in the game, with the final score being a 14-point difference. Special teams wise, I felt like this was clearly our best performance we've had this year, particularly on our kickoff and kickoff return team. Cam Boyd had a 45-yard return that set us up in great field position. Our backup kicker right now, Satchel Ziffer's doing an excellent job kicking the ball, putting it deep, placing it. Our coverage was outstanding going against a return team that was one of the best return teams that we had faced this year. So that was really good to see. The kids worked hard on that last week. We made a couple adjustments personnel-wise, and it definitely showed improvement. Defensively, the biggest area we improved on defensively was our tackling. We went from having 49 missed tackles against Western Kentucky to only having 7 missed tackles in this game. What really hurt us in this game was the 4 defensive penalties, the 4 penalties on our secondary. The first touchdown drive they had, we had them in 3rd and 5, and Falante Misher got called for a pass interference, which he broke the ball up with his left hand, but he had his right hand on the receiver. And then the very next play, they called a pass interference on Reggie Owens, which was a very close call. I'll put it that way, and they scored on that drive. And then we had a couple others. One, they called a personal foul on Justice Davila when we stopped him deep in their own end. He was going to tackle the receiver. He thought he had the ball. When he realized he didn't, he let go of him. He didn't take him to the ground, but the receiver went down, and we got a late flag on that play that kept a drive alive that they scored on. So that's something we had not done, was got penalties on defense, but 4 of them in this game definitely hurt us and led to 2 touchdowns, 2 drives they ended up scoring on that we would have been off the field on 3rd down, and we're just not good enough right now on defense to have those type of mistakes and be able to win a football game. They converted 67% on 3rd and 4th down. They were 9 for 15, and that's what led to the 88 plays. You know, as I always say, the time of possession doesn't matter. It's the number of plays that you run, and they were a team that huddled. They were a team that took the clock down all the way down, the 25-second clock all the way down, so that gave them a lot of time of possession, but it was clearly the 3rd downs that they kept converting on with those long drives. Offensively, we had a season low in plays. We only ran 48 plays in this game for 336 yards. We were efficient in terms of the yardage, but just not enough plays. If we're up around our usual 70 to 80 plays, it's going to be a 500-plus yard game. 3rd and 4th down, again, the story here, we were 2 for 9. So offensively, not converting on 3rd and 4th down led to the fact that we had so few plays. And with that combination of defensively not being able to get off the field and then offensively not being able to stay on the field, that put us in a real bad way. We had a 4th and 1 on their 33 in the second quarter after Cam Boyd's 45-yard return that we did not convert. We had a missed assignment up front. And then in the third quarter, we're driving. We're on the 25-yard line. We had a 3rd and 3 and then a 4th and 3 and did not convert. In situations normally that we do convert, I felt like we were very good in the pass game, but we hurt ourselves not being able to establish any run game. They clearly controlled the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball, and that's been an issue for us, and certainly was in this game. Speaking to this week's opponent, Florida International, they're 3-6 right now. They're 2-3 in the conference. Our biggest challenge will be it's another big physical team up front in the offensive and defensive lines. Offensively, they're averaging 21 points, 290 yards. They're good up front in the offensive and defensive line. They're playing two quarterbacks right now in Magoo and Hilliard that both guys have the ability to run the ball as well as pass the ball. Defensively, this will be one of the best defenses we've played against. 24 points a game, 350 yards. They're third in the conference in total defense, and they're number one in the conference in pass defense, and they're leading the league right now in takeaways. They've caused 25 turnovers so far this year, which is a very big number. We're excited about the game. We're excited to be back home. It feels like a long time, Ted, since we've been back home. A lot of interesting flights in the last 3 weeks, to say the least, and it'd be good to be back in front of the 12th Monarchs, and I'll take questions.
Bobby, you guys are in kind of uncharted territory for the program in terms of losing streak record right now. Kind of what's the message? What do you tell the kids and the coaches?
Stick to the plan. That's the number one thing. You know, everybody, I talked to the team about it yesterday. Stay focused on the process of winning, which is the planning, preparation, execution. Keep a positive mental attitude, and that's what we're going to do. That's the only way for us to get better as a football team and build not just for now, but also for the future.
Bobby, I haven't seen FIU. Is this a typical team with a lot of Florida kids that has a lot of speed too?
Yeah, it's very typical. That's the best way to describe them, in that they're a lot of speed, particularly in their special teams. You know, they're good on special teams. They've got excellent returners, kids that are fast, can run. They're well coached. They have a really good scheme. You know, they've lost some close games this year, and their record could be much better. They stayed with Marshall right until well into the end of the third quarter, early into the fourth. They should have won out at San Antonio. And I think they're a good football team. They're much better than last year. I mean, last year they were 1-11 and getting blown out by everybody. But this year they're in every game. The kids play hard. They compete. Interestingly enough, they've only had 2 away games. This is only their 3rd away game of the year. The majority of their games have been at home. All 4 of their non-conference games were home games. So 8 out of their 12 are at home. And they'll be traveling up here. Hopefully the weather will be just right for them. I see the Saturday forecast might be a little chilly, Ted.
Brisk?
Yes, and Vanderbilt's game was brisk. It's a good way to put it. I think they're a good team. I think they're well coached, and they've got some really good players. But they've been trying to figure out their quarterback situation. It looks like, just from watching all their games and what they're doing. But their defense is very impressive. I think they're as good as, other than Marshall, who's clearly better than everybody else defensively. They're right up there with Rice and some of the other good teams I've seen defensively this year.
They opened the season losing at home to Bethune-Cookman, and you're just thinking, oh my gosh, another disastrous season.
Right.
What has happened since then that you've seen to make them get better?
It's clearly been the defense and the amount of takeaways. The defining game for them was at UAB, who's a 5-4 team right now with 2 losses to Mississippi State and Arkansas, and they go in there and take the ball away 6 times. And beat them. So their offense has been just efficient enough, and they've been relying on their defense to take the ball away. They beat Florida Atlantic 38-10, and the defense scored in the game. Special teams scored. So that's been their formula to this point, is to rely on their defense to get turnovers, help them score points, and then play good special teams. That's the biggest difference I see here in their team from this year to last year, and from that first game they lost to Bethune-Cookman. They look like that first game looked like their team last year. Every game since they've been very competitive in. They've got a loss to Louisville. They've got a loss to Pittsburgh. They were very competitive in the Pittsburgh game, which got our attention.
You have injury updates on Christian Byram and Vincent Lowe?
Yeah, I think both will be back for this week. Vincent's coming off the concussion, and we're always very hesitant to put somebody back in with that until we make sure they're perfectly fine. He'll go through the strenuous physical tests that we put him through with the running, and he'll do the computer test, but I anticipate from talking to our training staff, he'll be back. And Christian should be back. His motion's still somewhat limited up and around his neck area, but he told me he feels much better and thinks he's going to be healthy. You know, this was a physical game for us, the Vanderbilt game, particularly our defensive players. So we've got a lot of guys bruised up pretty good. They played a lot of snaps, but I think we should be fairly close to full strength.
Anyone else who might not play this weekend?
Not that I anticipate at this point. Just some guys, we've got to see how they progress in terms of how they're feeling. But yeah, they were sore yesterday, and generally today's just treatments and getting healthy, and we should know more tomorrow at practice.
Troy Butler, is it possible to medical redshirt him this year? Is that something you're thinking of?
We are. We're currently working on that right now with our medical staff and our compliance department to go through those procedures based on the limited number of games he played. That's an option for us, and you know, he's not going to be able to play the rest of this year. So that's what we'll pursue at this point. And I'm hoping that works out, because he did not have a red shirt. Troy played as a true freshman. So we could be talking about having Troy Butler and Blair Roberts back next year, both healthy, which would be a couple of good recruits right there. Tom looking at it.
Any other questions for Coach?
All right, thank you all for coming. 12th Monarchs, we are quite excited to see you this Saturday at SB Ballard Stadium for a 3:30 kickoff. Have a great week.